Now we know who did it. According to Diddy, now we know who it was. And it makes sense because somebody who needed to do this to Diddy had to be somebody with a motive. He ruined Lil Rodney's life, allegedly, essayed him, made him do things that he didn't want to do, and they have an active lawsuit against him.
Sean Combs filed a countersuit this week, and the legal war around him is escalating fast. 50 months in federal prison, a stretch in solitary, and now a courtroom counterpunch aimed directly at one of his most prominent accusers.
Sean Diddy Combs is facing another legal battle, but this time it's involving former producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones and Netflix. Remember, yes. Now I'm sure you can remember what we're talking about. Now Diddy is accusing Rodney of defamation and of providing footage to Netflix that Combs says were originally filmed for his own documentary project. Right. The footage later appeared in Netflix's Sean Combs' The Reckoning. That one we scatter everywhere.
There's a lot to unpack here, so let's start from the beginning. First, the prison situation, because that's the foundation everything else is built on. Diddy, the man who built Bad Boy Records into an empire, is currently serving time at FCI Fort Dix, a low-security federal facility sitting in New Jersey. He was convicted last summer on charges that landed him a 50-month sentence. No early out, no special arrangements, no VIP wing. Just a cell and a clock ticking down. Now things inside haven't been entirely quiet. Word started filtering out that his time behind bars hit a rough patch early on. Reports surfaced claiming Diddy wound up in solitary confinement, also called the hole, spending 30 full days cut off from the general population. The story, according to sources, is that he got into a confrontation with another inmate who allegedly disrespected him. Voices got loud. The situation started boiling over, and prison staff moved in before it could turn into something worse. No weapon was involved, no serious injuries were reported, but that didn't matter to the people running the facility. The punishment came down anyway. 30 days in isolation is genuinely brutal. No yard time, no sunlight, no meaningful human contact. You're locked in a small space for the majority of the day with very little to do and nowhere to go. That's not a technicality or a footnote. That's a serious consequence with real mental and physical weight to it. By the time the latest reports came out, Diddy had already served that stretch and returned to the general population. Life inside, at least for the moment, is back to whatever a person could call routine in that environment. The Bureau of Prisons, as expected, isn't offering any specifics. Their standard response is exactly what you'd expect from any government body handling a high-profile case. For privacy, safety, and security reasons, we don't release info on housing or conditions. Word for word, every time. You can submit every request you want, but that canned statement is the wall you'll keep hitting. They don't make exceptions, and they definitely aren't making one for this case.
There's also a new development that Diddy, in his prison time, and they moved it back, move it forward, move it back again, but I said they use and they play. Now, the music mogul has reportedly been released from solitary confinement following an alleged prison fight.
Now let's zoom out and talk about the bigger picture on his sentence. Diddy was convicted under the Mann Act, though the jury did clear him on the racketeering charge and the trafficking counts. Even so, 50 months in federal prison is not a minor consequence. That's real time. His legal team had gone into the sentencing hearing pushing for leniency, laying out arguments for why the judge should go lighter. The judge wasn't moved. She sent him straight to federal custody without a second thought. His projected release date is currently sitting at February 2028, though that number has already shifted once or twice depending on how different factors have played out behind the scenes. Nothing is guaranteed until he's actually walking through those exit doors a free man. And as things stand right now, that day is still years down the road. Here's where the story takes a sharp turn. Diddy's legal team didn't take a passive approach while he sits behind bars. They went on full offense this week, filing a countersuit against Rodney Jones, the music producer who goes by Lil Rod. That is not a small move. That is a deliberate, aggressive legal strategy, and it was anything but quiet. Lil Rod first took aim at Combs back in February 2024, dropping a lawsuit that demanded $30 million. The allegations he brought weren't small. He claimed he was drugged, harassed, and put in front of deeply disturbing situations while he was on the job working on Diddy's album, the Love album, Off the Grid. He said the damage that period did to him wasn't temporary either, that it was real and that it stuck. Combs came right back and denied every single word of it, calling the whole account completely made up. But now Diddy's camp is changing the direction of this fight entirely. They filed their counter-complaint this past Tuesday, and the central argument they're making is simple. Lil Rod flat out lied. The countersuit specifically alleges that Jones made defamatory statements, invented claims that he then packaged and handed off to a Netflix docuseries called Sean Combs' The Reckoning. That's the 4-part series that landed on the platform this past December, and it was produced by 50 Cent, a name that carries its own kind of weight in hip-hop circles. Diddy's legal team says Lil Rod used that platform as a megaphone, spreading stories they're calling fabricated and dressed up to look like documented truth. Now they're saying someone has to answer for that. The documentary itself pulled 3 Emmy nominations, including a nod for Outstanding Documentary, which is no small thing. But now that same film is tangled up in litigation over footage that Combs' side says never belonged in it to begin with.
Very scary for myself, and it has me worried about my kids, and just sleeping with anxiety and different things like that.
Here's the version of events Diddy's lawyers are putting forward. They say he already had his own documentary project in motion long before any of this became a public story. A personal project, one meant to chronicle his life, his career, and his rise, all shaped and told on his own terms the way he wanted it told. Then Lil Rod came into the picture, and according to this telling of the story, things went bad quickly after that. To understand where Combs' side says the trouble actually started, you have to go all the way back to December 2022. A yacht, St. Bart's, the kind of luxury setting that sounds like a vacation but apparently came with complications. Combs' team alleges that something happened on that trip, something specific that set off a chain of events now landing in front of a judge. The claim is that Lil Rod crept over to a workstation being used by one of the videographers on Combs' own production. With nobody's knowledge and nobody's permission, he allegedly plugged into those hard drives and walked away with footage that was never his to take. That accusation sits right at the core of this entire countersuit, and Combs' attorneys aren't letting it rest there. They're pushing further, claiming that some of that same footage, the material allegedly lifted off those drives during a trip to St. Bart's, ended up inside the Netflix documentary itself, the very same film that's now up for Emmy Awards. If Diddy's team can back that up, it would mean a major streaming production built part of its story using stolen material. And that's a heavy accusation no matter which side of this dispute you're standing on. The lawsuit isn't stopping at a simple apology demand either. Combs' legal team wants that footage physically returned, every single copy destroyed, wiped clean, nothing left behind on any hard drive or server anywhere. And they're also chasing financial damages on top of that. The exact number hasn't been nailed down yet, and that figure will probably get hammered out as the case moves deeper through the legal system, potentially all the way to trial. Before we go any further, though, let's be really clear about something. These are allegations. One side filed a legal complaint, and the other side disputes it hard. Lil Rod hasn't been convicted of anything tied to this specific accusation. Combs' lawyers can make all the claims they want inside a lawsuit filing, but making a claim and actually proving it in front of a judge are two completely different things. That's literally how the legal system is built to function. Both sides get their shot. Both sides go through discovery, file their motions, argue their positions out loud. Nothing becomes established fact until a judge or a jury formally says so. Keep that in mind as all of this continues to unfold. Zoom out a little, and the full picture starts to look genuinely wild. Combs has been in the headlines almost every single week for what feels like an endless stretch of time now. It's not one case sitting in isolation. It's a whole tangled web of stories all running at once, overlapping, feeding into each other. His former bodyguard's name has surfaced in connection with the Tupac Shakur murder case, with Dwayne Davis appearing on the court docket. Rumors and old allegations tied to Jennifer Lopez have resurfaced in the press again. News stories keep getting attached to his name almost faster than anyone can fully track them. His projected release date from prison has been bouncing around like nobody can pin it down. Up a month, back a month. Reports of a fight breaking out behind bars threw things into even more chaos. There was a stretch spent in solitary confinement, then a transfer back to general population, all while fresh legal battles continue stacking up around him from multiple directions. Each week seems to drop something new into an already overcrowded caseload. And right in the middle of all of it sits this Netflix documentary produced with 50 Cent's backing, Emmy-nominated, and now being cited as actual evidence inside a brand new legal fight. A film that was already generating serious heat the moment it dropped has now officially entered the courtroom conversation too. That's a rare thing. A documentary becoming both an awards contender and a piece of litigation at the same time. This is just the reality Combs is operating inside right now. Every week carries a new development. Every month drops a fresh headline. Courtroom lights have completely replaced any other kind of spotlight in his life, and the cases keep multiplying with no sign of slowing down. So here's where things actually stand at this moment. Combs is out of solitary, back in general population, and his legal team is running offense with this counter lawsuit, pointing the finger directly at Lil Rod and claiming stolen footage helped build a Netflix production that's now sitting in awards conversations. At the same time, Lil Rod's original lawsuit is still fully alive and moving through the courts.
Lil Rod's legal team claiming that Sean Diddy Combs was actually part of a RICO enterprise. And you just read a statement from Combs' legal team saying that this is a salacious attempt with name dropping, and they just really go hard, denying all of the accusations again that Diddy had previously denied. And they're fighting back against this today.
$30 million is still on the table. That case isn't going anywhere, and neither is any of the noise surrounding it. Neither of these lawsuits has wrapped up. No judge has banged the gavel, no jury has come back with a verdict, and both cases are still grinding through the legal system with plenty of road left ahead. That's what makes this story so gripping right now. Every new filing, every court date, every motion that gets dropped is another piece of the puzzle. There are still arguments to be made, evidence to be presented, and decisions that could flip the whole narrative on its head. So, keep your eyes open, because this one isn't slowing down anytime soon. The twists aren't done coming, and honestly, the most important chapters might not have even started yet. If you've been riding with Shade T, you already know we stay on top of it all. Fresh stories, real tea, and all the celebrity drama worth talking about. That's what we do here every single time. We don't cut corners, and we don't sleep on the stories that actually matter. Smash that like button if you got something out of this one. It genuinely pushes the video out to more people and helps the channel keep growing, so every tap counts more than you'd think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, seriously, what's the holdup? Hit that button right now so you never wake up and miss a drop. See you in the next one.